Violence continues to rage in Haiti. Gang clashes leave at least 12 dead after the UN Security Council approved sanctions against armed groups. The government of Bolivia set up a dialogue table with opposition representatives of the Department of Santa Cruz in order to lower tensions and provide calm after the call for the strike. And in Germany, mobilizations continue against the measures implemented against the energy crisis and Berlin's support to Ukraine. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Haiti, violence continues unabated. Gang confrontation leaves at least 12 dead after UN Security Council decided to impose sanctions against armed groups. The confrontation between the two most dangerous criminal gangs in the country led to a series of crossfire attacks aimed at keeping territorial control in the district of La Croix de Bouquet, west of Port-au-Prince. Human rights organizations warn that as part of this conflict, entire families have been forcibly displaced and are seeking refuge in other communities. They denounced the slow response of police authorities to be present in the zone. In Haiti, citizens marched this Friday through the streets of the capital Port-au-Prince as part of a protest against a possible foreign intervention. Under the slogans "Down with the UN" and "Down with foreign occupation," hundreds of citizens mobilized to express their opposition to the measure adopted by the Security Council of the United Nations organization. The organization unanimously approved a resolution drafted by the United States and Mexico to impose sanctions and arms embargo on the gang blockade in Haiti. This text establishes the prohibition of the leaders of those groups to travel out of the country and the freezing of their bank assets. The measure announced by the UN is part of a request by Haitian government for the support of an international armed force to deal with ongoing violence in the country. The Security Council of the United Nations organization adopts sanctions against criminal groups amidst the rejection by social organizations of the foreign interventionism requested by Haiti. For this day, the session of the organism welcomes the two resolutions proposed by the United States and Mexico, where supporting infrastructure and resources to address the situation of violence in Haiti is encouraged. The measure also seeks to impose a battery of sanctions on those responsible for the violence, including the leaders of criminal gangs. The adoption seeks to try to curb the high crime rates and give the government of Haiti the support to recover stability at a time when the country is suffering an outbreak of cholera and the social crisis is increasing. In Argentina, the grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo will celebrate this Saturday the National Day for the Right to Identity and their first 45 years of existence with a big festival. Through an official communique, the organizers announced the event to take place at the Technopolis venue located in Buenos Aires to continue to amplify the search for the missing grandchildren. The leaders also emphasized that the activity will include various artistic, cultural, and musical activities, such as the presentation of the historical band Bersuit Bergarabat, which will perform to the singer-songwriter and rapper Sara Hebe arrives on stage. In addition, the Plaza de Mayo grandmothers said that there would be a stand for people with doubts about their origin or who want to provide information about relatives who disappeared during the dictatorship. The government of Bolivia set up a dialogue table with representatives of the opposition in the Department of Santa Cruz to lower tensions and provide tranquility after the call for a strike. The negotiations are taking place in the facilities of the Directorate of Support for the Prevention of Drug Consumption, Control of the Illicit Traffic of Controlled Substances, and Surplus Coca, located in the second ring of San Aurelio Avenue of the Cruceña capital. With a minute of silence in homage to Julio Pablo Taborga, who died in a confrontation in border town of Puerto Quijarro, the dialogue, whose technical tables have been deliberating since midday this Saturday. According to the Minister of the Presidency, Maria Anela Prada, the dialogue seeks to reach a consensus to lift the indefinite strike that is held in Santa Cruz, led by right-wing organizations and the elites of the department.
The objective is precisely to lower tensions and generate a genuine, frank dialogue to reach a solution in relation to the census, an issue that is in the interest of all the people of Santa Cruz and all Bolivian people. We are proposing at this moment to declare a fourth intermission in relation to this meeting in order to resume it at noon today. in these same facilities in order to initiate the technical work that is what we demand from the people of Santa Cruz, from the Bolivian people, on television as we had indicated yesterday.
The president of Bolivia, Luis Arce, also made a statement through his Twitter account on the death of Julio Pablo Taburga, who was killed during the civic strike that took place in the country. We condemn the violence during a civic strike that caused the irreparable loss of a human life in Puerto Quijarro. Our most heartfelt condolences to the family and loved ones. This tragic event must be investigated and those responsible must be punished. Hurricane Rosalyn gained strength this Saturday and reached Category 4 as it heads towards the Mexican Pacific coast, where it is expected to make landfall north of the tourist resort of Puerto Vallarta. According to the United States National Hurricane Center, Rosalyn was located 240 kilometers southwest of the port of Manzanillo in the state of Colima and 275 kilometers from the municipality of Cabo Corrientes, where according to reports, intense rains are being recorded, which could cause an increase in the levels of rivers and streams, causing landslides and floods. Rosalyn is moving towards the northwest with maximum sustained winds of 215 km per hour and a speed of 13 km per hour. Meteorologists forecast that the hurricane will follow a path parallel to the southeast coast of Mexico and then approach the central western region of the country, making landfall on Sunday morning along the coast of the state of Nayarit. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can now follow us on TikTok at the account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Germany, demonstrations continue this Saturday against measures taken in response to the energy crisis and Berlin's support for Ukraine. The country is facing a wave of protests in different cities due to the high cost of living and the government's policy regarding the situation in Ukraine. These mobilizations call for solidarity in the face of the crisis, creating social security and ending dependence on fossil fuels. In this regard, demonstrators expressed their discontent with the energy crisis and inflation, which has reached historic levels in this country. This is a consequence of the European Union and United States sanctions against Russia that continue to generate damage in the economies of the region. In Italy, the leader of the right-wing party Brothers of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, was sworn in on Saturday as Prime Minister in an official ceremony before President Sergio Mattarella. Meloni, the first woman in history to become head of government in Italy, delivered her swearing-in speech in front of the head of state and then presided over the swearing-in of her 24 ministers. The right-wing governing alliance formed by Brothers of Italy, Matteo Salvini's League, and Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia has an absolute majority in both the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies after winning the elections of last September 25th. In Canada, the Prime Minister of the North American nation, Justin Trudeau, announced the prohibition of the sale of guns to the public in the entire national territory.
In May, our government introduced measures to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. Today, our national freeze on handguns is coming into force. From today forward, it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or transfer a handgun in Canada. We have frozen the market for handguns in this country, and our ban on imports that took effect in August remains in place. This is one of the strongest actions we've taken on gun violence in a generation.
The Communist Party of China officially closed its 20th Congress in Beijing, an important political meeting that has been focused on advancing towards the realization of the goal of making China a prosperous modern socialist state. Our correspondent Ramsey Peraza from the Asian Giant with the details.
20th Congress of the Communist Party of China closed in Beijing with calls to embark on the new path towards the construction of a modern socialist country and to focus on the benefit of the people, a political event where the socio-economic, political and ideological keys of the Asian giant for the next 5 years were outlined. During the closing of the conclave at the Great People's Palace in Beijing, the nearly 2,300 delegates approved various documents, including reports on the management, achievements and challenges of the party in the next 5 years, as well as amendments to the constitution of the CPC to adapt it to the new times and make it a stronger organization.
We must keep in mind our founding aspirations and party missions. Dare to fight, dare to win, bury your heads and work hard. We must keep in mind that the country is the people and the people are the country. We owe it to them.
The CPC also completed the election of the members of the 20th Central Committee and of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection. According to the schedule, the members of the Central Committee should soon hold their first session to select the members of the Political Bureau, the Permanent Committee and the General Secretary of the CPC. Observers and analysts keep their eyes fixed on the figure of Xi Jinping, who could, according to forecasts, be elected for a third term. Xi Jinping's thoughts and ideas on socialism with Chinese characteristics have already found their way into the party statutes and the country's constitution, and a few in the Asian giant doubt the Chinese leader's strength in building consensus around his ability to draw strategic lines that would lead China to progress, especially in the current context. Analysts have given special importance to this 20th Congress of the Chinese Communist Party, which closed its doors today as it was the first to be organized and laid the foundations for the achievement of China's second centenary, which consists of the construction of a modern socialist country by the middle of this century.
During the closing of the 20th Congress of the Communist Party of China, former President Hu Jintao was escorted out of the venue where the activity took place. Without the reasons being known, the former president was taken to an adjoining office where the closing ceremony of the organization's congress was taking place. The Xinhua agency reported on its Twitter account that the 79-year-old former president did not feel well and that he would later recover. During the action, it can be seen how an assistant of the Great Hall of the People held a brief conversation with Hu Jintao and finally managed to escort him to the exit. In Russia, following the recent wave of Ukrainian attacks, the border provinces of Kursk and Belgorod extended the yellow alert of the terror alert. This level of alert has been maintained in these territories since April 11th, together with the cancellation of all flights to and from Kursk and Belgorod, as well as 9 other cities in the southern European part of Russia. These measures were implemented by the regional governments to ask their citizens not to lower their vigilance and to alert authorities of suspicious individuals, abandoned objects, and unmanned aerial devices. This is a preventive measure after the increase in artillery attacks and sabotage actions of the Ukrainian army in the area. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In Palestine, Israeli occupation forces opened live fire and fired tear gas canisters at farmers attending land near the border fence south of the Gaza Strip. According to local media reports, the incident took place in the Kusa area, east of Khan Yunis. Gaza border farmers were attacked by Israeli occupation forces stationed at a military watchtower along the southern border, with Gaza being forced to stop their work on their lands and leave the area. The attacks by the Israeli army against farmers along the Gaza border have become almost routine. This is intended to prevent the development and cultivation of the lands near the border fence. Israeli tanks and armed vehicles often cross the border and carry out systematic destruction of the land near the border. Meanwhile, local media also report that the Syrian army's anti-aircraft defenses acted against an Israeli missile aggression in the vicinity of the capital Damascus. The action took place at 11 o'clock local time on Friday night. The Israeli enemy carried out an aggression with rockets fired from the northeast direction of the Tiberias Lake in the north of the occupied Palestinian territory, which caused some material losses. Last December, a similar aggression against the international airport of Damascus and some points south of the capital city caused the death of 5 soldiers and caused some material losses. Protests erupted in Pakistan on Friday against the Election Commission's decision to disqualify former Prime Minister Imran Khan for 5 years. Police cracked down with tear gas on supporters of the Pakistani Tehreek-e-Insaf party demonstrating in Islamabad. There were also rallies in Karachi and other cities of the country. The protests come after the country's top electoral body suspended Khan from holding public office after accusing him of concealing gifts received while in government. The unanimous verdict will have criminal consequences for the former president. Imran Khan came to power as prime minister after winning the 2018 election, but was forced to step down last April after losing a no-confidence motion that ushered in the current government.
This is not the jurisdiction of the Election Commission. The court has the authority to issue such verdicts. They have gone against the Constitution and against the law. This is our stance from day one, that this election commissioner is a partisan of the ruling Muslim League, and today's verdict has proved this. So today we are protesting against the election commission.
In this context, former Prime Minister of Pakistan Imran Khan thanked his supporter and called for the cessation of protests while affirming that he will continue fighting against the mafia that rules the country.
I'm thankful to all the protesters who have staged protests and sit-ins today. Now, I ask you to end the protest because it's creating difficulties for people, and I do not want to put my nation in trouble.
Several towns and cities in Ethiopia have held anti-Western rallies. The rallies are believed to have been organized by local governments in support of the federal government's latest offensive in the ongoing war in the Tigray region. Local government officials and their supporters attracted hundreds of thousands of people across the country. Many of people displayed banners urging the United States to stop supporting the Tigray People's Liberation Front, while others were purely anti-Western. This came amid hopes for talks between the Ethiopian government and the TPLF to end the war raging across the region. Officials Chad government spokesman raised to 60 the number of fatalities in the operation unleashed last Thursday in the country's 2 largest cities. Chad government spokesman Assis Mahamat Saleh said 30 people had been killed in the capital Jamena and 32 others in the country's 2nd largest city, Moundou. Authorities imposed a curfew after violence, which came amid demonstrations in the Central African nation against the 2-year expansion of power by interim leader Mahamat Idris Deby. Thursday's unrest was unprecedented in Chad, which saw little public dissent during the previous regime of Deby's father, who ruled for more than 3 decades, until his assassination last year. A bus collided with a truck on a highway in central India, killing at least 15 people, police said on Saturday. At least 40 other people were injured in the accident, which occurred in Rewa district of Madhya Pradesh state. Last Friday, police said. The bus was carrying at least 60 passengers when it rammed into a stationary truck that had just collided with another truck on the highway, police told reporters. Most of the passengers were laborers traveling to their homes in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh to celebrate Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights. India has some of the highest road death rates in the world, with hundreds of thousands of people killed and injured every year. Most crashes are blamed on reckless driving, poorly maintained roads, and aging vehicles. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.